Welcome to Prepare Wicomico here on PAC 14. It's been a long time since David Shipley, the Director of Wicomico County Department of Emergency Services, and I have been with you due to COVID. We're glad to be back with Prepare Wicomico to again bring great information about emergency preparedness here in Wicomico County. I'm David Fitzgerald, your host for the show, and I'm joined today by Director David Shipley from Wicomico County Department of Emergency Services. David, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us today.
Happy to be here.
And we're going to talk about open air burning. It's a hot day, it's summertime, people burn outside. So let's give the viewers a little key points on open air burning.
I think first you should understand that my department, the Department of Emergency Services, we actually monitor the drought conditions, but associated with the drought conditions is the fire danger. We not only look at the drought conditions when they get to be abnormal or moderate, we also look at the rainfall totals that have occurred and also the wildfire danger level in the county. Now, if we determine that we believe that the drought conditions may lead to fires, imminent threat to the property or people, we'll recommend to the county executive that we establish our burn ban committee, or he could say, I want the burn ban committee to meet. That burn ban committee is made up of officials from the local fire service, the Department of Natural Resources, the Health Department, the National Weather Service, the Planning and Zoning Enforcement arm, and then my department members, the Department of Emergency Services. What that group does is it comes together to offer potential actions or recommendations for the county executive to follow. If he decides to implement a temporary burning ban, then he would do that, and then he could continue it with the consent of the county council. Normally the burning bans don't, if they are put in place, do not involve charcoal grills or bottled grills or campfires down at Sandy Hill or Roaring Point, or campfires on your local property. Also, professional fireworks displays are exempt from it generally, and then also if you have some open air burning, controlled open air burning that you would like to do at a residence or other locations, as long as you have a paid fire company or volunteer fire company. Those are some things that they can consider and we may recommend. But again, it's all based upon that committee coming together and taking an assessment of both the short and long-term impacts of what the drought really is causing.
That's great. And we do that because we don't want the fire service, most of them are volunteers, we don't want them to be overwhelmed, and we don't want a large fire to get out of control.
And that's why it's so important to solicit their input when the committee meets, because you're absolutely correct. They would have to almost surround a wildfire in the woods or a woodland fire, and it would take an enormous number of fire apparatus, and then when it gets into specialty equipment like bulldozers and things that are limited, for them to fight. So anything we can do to assist in controlling or limiting, some ignitions of wildfires is very important.
Very good. And then if the county executive issues that declaration of emergency, the county's going to put a press release out and you're going to put something out?
Yes, it would be through the local, we have a number of local media resources that we would put out, and that is exactly correct. And the guidance that I mentioned as far as some of the particulars that may be exempt would also be, and there are things that are not exempt, would be in that order. It would be hopefully giving the public enough details that there would be no discrepancy what they can and can't do.
That's great, and we're doing that to do what your department always does, and that's here to protect the public.
That's correct, and our first responders. They're the ones that go in harm's way to protect the public, and that they're so important.
Yep, that's great. We just want to remind the viewers, you can go to wicomicocounty.org/ES, and that's Director Shipley, Department of Emergency Services website, and you're going to have that information on the website if that goes into effect.
That is correct, and in fact, we have information on the current advisories that are there now. But nothing about open air burning at this point. Like I said, we will be monitoring the drought conditions is what really drives that long term.
Okay, very good. Well, we're into hurricane season, so we didn't get to talk about that with our viewers to remind them last year. So let's talk a little bit about hurricane season, and why don't we just start with Know Your Zone, what the people should know.
Yes, my department, the Department of Emergency Services, has developed a 3-tiered evacuation zone plan that is associated with the hurricane and tropical storm surge surges and also tidal flooding that's associated with both types of storms. Now, it is associated with the flooding that occurs along the Nanticoke and the Wicomico rivers. That's where those tiers apply. Now, if you want to know if you happen to live in one of those pre-planned evacuation locations, you can go to knowyourzonemd.com, knowyourzonemd.com, or you can go to our website, which is the www.wicomicocounty.org/ES. You can go to those sites to find out if you are living in one of those zones. If you were, and we did issue an evacuation order, we would identify which zones, if any, that would be involved. Now, it's good to go there ahead of time and because then you can determine where you're going to go. That's very important if evacuation is ordered. You'll know ahead of time if that happens where I'm going to go. Now, also, those are predetermined evacuation zones. Now, what if there are other locations in the county that will be a recommendation would be made for an evacuation? You will be informed of that through local bulletins and after we make those determinations. But we've been able through the modeling to create these three tiers because we know what's going to happen if we have storm surge of so many feet above high tide, that type of thing. We know ahead of time, so you can do that. And I also would recommend, since it is hurricane season, that you do go to that website, the website that we've mentioned, because there's many preparedness topics that are on there. And in fact, there's a whole section that deals with emergency preparedness topics. And one of the things that you can do right now is go there to get to access Know Your Zone, and if you are a part of that. But also, there's other hurricane preparedness information. It's really important that you take a look at.
Right. We want everybody to be prepared, and there's 3 zones, right?
That's correct.
An A, a B, and a C.
That's correct.
And you're going to do them in that order. You may do 1, you may do 2, or you may do all 3.
That is correct. It's associated with the storm surge and tidal flooding, and we will make it an evaluation that's going to be associated with a particular impact. Certainly, maybe more aggressively with a hurricane as opposed to a tropical storm, but we'll monitor it, and we'll make sure the public is informed about which zone it would be. Or zones.
Right. And as Director Shipley said, you have 2 avenues, the knowyourzonemd.com or the Wicomico County org/ES. So we'll take this opportunity and we'll show you how to do that on the website. Hopefully you had a great opportunity to look up your address on the knowyourzonemd.com or wicomicocounty.org/ES, and you find out what zone you're in. Or you may not be in any zone, and as Director Shipley said, you'll just monitor the local bulletins to see if you would need to evacuate.
If you're in some other location that we determine is you would be in harm's way, right?
So we talked about Know Your Zone, and that's one of the topics we want to talk about. But since we've been a while, we don't want, when you put your Know Your Zone out, we want people to evacuate. We really want them to have a plan. We don't want them coming to our local shelter. That's a last resort.
That is correct. That's why it's so important that if you are at least in a predetermined zone, that you know where you're going to go. And it's a local evacuation. And you're not going to be asked to leave the county at this point. You need to make plans to either go to a location out of the evacuation zone with friends and family. You can go to hotels and motels. There are even people that go to second homes or to their places of employment if there's a private business. The public shelter should be seen as the shelter of last resort because you'll get a cot, you'll get a little pillow, and you'll get some meals, but it's not going to be as a comfortable is going to one of those other locations. But I would say this to you: if you do not have another location to go to, you should come to the public shelter. That would be announced along with the emergency orders and things where that shelter would be. And our shelters are pet friendly. The shelter that would be opened in the county would be pet accommodating. We don't want anybody to have to make a decision to put themselves at risk because of a pet. If you bring the pet there, it will be taken care of along with you.
Well, that's great. And like Director Shipley said, we remind you that's in the county, that's a last resort. We've both been doing this profession many years. We're here to prepare the county, but we encourage you to do that planning. Go with those family, go with friends, get that hotel room. The employer is a good place that people don't think of. Go to your office that might be safe and have some more friendly accommodations than with numerous hundreds of other people in one of our facilities.
That's correct, and that's where your 3-day kit that you may have in your house, if you have to leave, those non-perishable foodstuffs and the things that are in your 3-day kit can become a portable kit that you could take to that office, or if you're going to drop in on your friends and families for needing additional food. So I'm glad I recalled that you can take that kit with you to the location where you're going.
Since you mentioned that kit, let's, if we can, go over a few things when you come to our shelter of last resort. Things you need to bring with us, your medicines, etc.
That's important. Medicines and anything that you need like that, please bring it. But also, don't forget your pet. If you're bringing your pet, bring food and a crate with you. That would help the Humane Society folks that are going to be there, caring for your animals. A sleeping bag we recommend that you bring. A pillow, you can bring it. You can bring toys and things for your kids if you're bringing them to the shelter. Anything that, your toiletries would be something that you should bring. Those are basically the things we're going to potentially try to provide, the necessities, okay? But please don't forget that crate for your animal if you have one. We have a number of crates. We have evaluated that need on several occasions and actually increased the number that we have. So those are some of the recommendations I can make as far as what you should bring.
Well, that's great. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate you getting out of the office and helping the community prepare. We want to again remind the community, go to those websites, wicomicocounty.org/ES. Lots of information there, lots of links to other websites. Get that kit ready. This is hurricane season through November, so get your kit ready and know your zone. And we thank you for joining us today on Prepare Wicomico.